down to the floor. There are many variations of this. You can even have a grapevine with your legs from positions like this. But its distinguishing characteristic is your chest is down to the floor and your weight is on top of them. The great advantage of this, of course, is you have body weight on an opponent, and you can use that to advantage. It's also an excellent position to dig in for strangles, etc., and you can change rapidly from situations like this back into supine positions. Okay, those four positions where first we're supine, perpendicular, supine on our side, grapevine, sitting up, and prone. Those four positions are tier 1. Okay, we should be able to move fairly well between those four positions and have got a lot of success from all of them. Now, there is a tier 2 position. Still very good, but sometimes you'll have an opponent who comes up to his base, like so, take a strong base, and you will end up here in a situation like so. Now, he can even take this leg of his and step over your legs. And still from here, you can effectively get finishes. You can even add a grapevine in situations like this. The main idea here is that we're sitting on our training partner's arm. If Placido goes to pull his arm free, you're literally sitting on top of it. Okay? So this would be a supine arm sit. I'm supine, I'm on my back, shoulders down on the floor, so we're supine, but we're literally sitting on top of our training partner's arm. Let's rotate this way, Placido.
Hold on, I can carry bases on one mat.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay, so you can clearly see what's happening here. I'm sitting with my hips on my training partner's arm. If Placido goes to violently pull his left arm free, there's so much wedging pressure behind the arm, it's almost impossible. His own body weight is making it very, very difficult. When he tries to twist and turn his way out, tries to stand up, it's so difficult because you're literally sitting on top of his arm. Okay? The one disadvantage of it is your opponent is covering your hips, so he does have some weight on top of your hips. Okay, but even though I'm calling this a tier 2 position, it's still a very good position. And the beauty of this position, make a strong resistant base, Placido, no matter how strong his base and the use of his weight on top of you, you can almost always take your feet, back heel them, and turn your training partner over and return him right back into those tier 1 positions that we looked at earlier. Okay, so this too is an excellent position. I would put it just a hair behind the others insofar as you are carrying your opponent's body weight. That's its only drawback. But as we just saw, you can usually flip your opponent over from there pretty easily and return them back into those tier 1 positions that we looked at earlier. Now, there is one position associated with back crucifix, which often occurs when you have an opponent who moves skillfully out of the position. And this is the one position which I would urge you to stay away from. Okay, and it can happen spontaneously when you're using back crucifixes. These are situations where you are sitting on your opponent's arm. However, you've come up to a seated position. Okay, let's rotate this way as inverted. Okay, let's say that Placido successfully came up in this direction and we ended up in a position like so. Can you see what's going wrong here, fellas? I'm seated over my opponent, so I do have a height advantage. That's something, I guess. But the problem is that I don't have any ability to put weight over Placido's arm. And it's pretty easy in situations like this for Placido to extend his hand away from me, and I cannot recover it. Okay? It becomes very easy for Placido now to elevate my ankles, and then I lose what's left of my mobility when he shelves my leg. And look how easy it is for Placido to rip his arm out, and then from here, you get into very compromised positions. Okay? So this is the one crucifix position which is a bit of a lemon, okay? And you want to stay away from this. It's not a complete disaster, okay? There's still ways you can recover even from there, but it is not optimal, okay? This is not the ideal situation. And I would strongly urge you, and we'll see how to do this in the next section, to quickly maneuver away from this position. Do not spend any period of time in this position, especially against someone who's got good defensive skills. Let's have a look at the idea again. So we start off in a pretty conventional crucifix position, and however it happens, Placido is able to successfully come up, and we end up in positions like this. This is the so-called seated arm set, okay? The difference between this and the previous move, which is tier 2 position, now we're in a tier 3, the least desirable situation, is that my feet are on the far side of my opponent's body. You have some initial control of the far arm, but when Placido extends the arm, I cannot recover it. His body is literally in my way. There's no way for me now to recover that arm. Once it's lost, it's completely lost. There is also a problem that now he can elevate your feet and shelf them, and that's a disaster. Okay, there's no recovery from this kind of situation for me. Now, once he shelves the leg, it's almost embarrassingly easy for him to extract his arm. Why? Because I don't have any body weight on top of his arm. Let's contrast this position with the one we looked at previously, the supine arm set. In that situation, I was literally lying down on top of Placido's arm. So when Placido goes to violently rip his arm out, there's so much body weight and wedging behind it that it's impossible. Now let's contrast this with the seated arm set. Here, there's no body weight on Placido's arm. If Placido just aggressively yanked his arm, there's a pretty good chance it'll come out just on aggression alone. You add some sweat and some slipperiness in there, and it's even worse. So even when I keep him in the tight like so, look how Placido can just easily pull his arm free, because there's no body weight. There's no effective wedging in these situations. Okay? So this position, again, a bit of a lemon. You want to spend as little time as possible in these situations as you can. Now, don't worry. We'll look at the next section. We'll see there are actually ways to recover even from here. And there's also ways to make it difficult for them to put you in this position. But you must be aware of this as the one weak area in the crucifix series. This is not the position to stay. You can be here for a little while, but you can't stay here, okay? So once again, the reason why it's a lemon is because if you lose the far arm, you have no method of recovery. It's gone, okay? As opposed to almost every other form of crucifix position, there's almost always an easy recovery if you lose the arm. Secondly, you can just shelf your leg, and now you've got nowhere to go. And then thirdly, there's no body weight on the arm, so it's just so easy for it to extract and get away, okay? So this is the one situation, the one position associated with back crucifix, which I would always urge you to get out of as soon as possible, okay? Don't worry, there's good ways to manage this position. There's also some common sense ways that make it quite difficult for opponent to get you in that position from the other 5 positions. So what have we got at this stage? We've got 3 general strategies which an opponent can use that cover almost all of the major escapes from crucifix position. Running through those 3 again. From Placido's perspective, when he finds himself in a back crucifix, one strategy is to bridge and go over the top, okay? Another strategy, arguably better, is to slide down and away. And if you can go far enough in these situations, some of the best escapes from back crucifix come from sliding down and away. And the third strategy is to bring weight as he connects his hands up on top of me in the hope that he will end up in good position for him and not such a good position for me in this seated arm set situation. And from here, it's pretty easy for Placido to start shelving a leg and extracting an arm. Okay? So what have we got here? We've got your opponent has 3 basic strategies. He can go over the top, he can slide down and away, or he can connect his hands and turn up and into you. Almost all of the major escapes to back crucifix are based on some variation of one of those initial strategies. There are 6 positions which you will spontaneously fall into or direct yourself towards whenever you're in a back crucifix situation. 4 of them are what you might call tier 1. All of them are very good. You can split hairs as to which ones are better. That's kind of open to interpretation. You also have a 5th position, tier 2, which is also very good, but has one minor disadvantage, one check against it, which is the idea that your opponent's weight is on top of your head. It's a slight disadvantage, but still a very good position. And then you have a sixth position, which is not so good. It's undesirable. This is where you're in a seated arm set. You're sitting on top of his arm, but you're in a seated position. It's awkward because your feet are on the far side of the body. Your hips are on the near side. You don't have any control. There's no wedging around your opponent's arm. Your control of the far arm is tenuous at best. And it's very easy for an opponent to extract his arm and escape the position completely and leave you in a very compromised position. So your job as someone who wants to get good at the crucifix is to be able to identify which of the three strategies the other guy is using on you, identify it, and then to flow between those six positions, where five of them are seen as desirable and where it's quite possible for you to finish your opponent, and a sixth one is undesirable, which you want to stay away from as much as possible and get back to the first five. Once you have a roadmap, as it were, between these six positions, and to identify the three strategies your opponent's using, it becomes very easy for you to avoid the one bad position and stay navigating between the remaining five positions into wins. In the previous section, we looked at the 3x6 positional theory of back crucifix, and a critical element of that was that there was one position out of all the six positions we might find ourselves in a back crucifix which was undesirable. This is the so-called seated arm set. We are sitting up awkwardly over an opponent who has gotten up to his knees and put you in a precarious situation where he can easily extract his endangered arm. This is not a good position for us to stay in. We need to learn first how to make it difficult for an opponent to get that position. And then secondly, if he does get there, how to recover from it. So let's start with making it difficult for our opponent to get to that position. Okay. If we're attacking an opponent with a classic back crucifix, the danger that we're looking to avoid here is our opponent bringing his hands close together and turning up onto his knees into a situation where I get extended out here. Now, let's rotate this way. What's the crime that I've committed here? Okay, the crime is that I have my feet on one side of Placido's body, his right-hand side, but I have my hips on my left-hand side, on his left-hand side, and I'm in a seated position where I can put no weight on his arm. Okay, this is you could say that there's a golden rule in these situations. You never want your feet on one side of his body and your hips on the other when you're seated over your opponent like this. This is very awkward for you and pretty easy for him to escape. All he has to do is elevate your foot, shelf it, and then from here it's so easy for him to extract his arm, and now you're in a dreadful situation. You were winning the match a few seconds ago, and now things are looking terrible. So what's gone wrong? What's gone wrong is that I've allowed my opponent to end up in a situation where my feet are on the far side of his body, but my hips are on the near side. I always want my feet and my hips on the same side whenever possible. We're always wanting situations where my feet are here on the same side as my hips. Okay, now I'm in this position over the top, and things are great. This is a great attacking position. We're back into the tier 1 positions now. This is what we're trying to avoid, this kind of general situation. Even if I did have Placido's hand, it's so easy for him just to extend out and away, and then I have no method of recovering the hand. It's a disaster, that's gone. And from here, it's so easy for him now to elevate and then extract his arm. Okay? So our first thing is, let's make it difficult for him to get us in